Hey guys, so the breaking news has come out today that the Melbourne Rebels will no longer be involved in Super Rugby Pacific going forward. And again, this decision is something which I'm not surprised by because, all the way back before the season even started, this was, the likely scenario and kind of the decision which was probably going to happen. But at the same time, now that's actually, kind of happened, I'm still just a bit like shocked, but also like, just like it's given me a lot of time to think about it. And by the way, the reason why I haven't posted this video like right off the back of that, the news kind of breaking out, is also just because I needed time to kind of just think about the positives and negatives of this decision kind of going forward for Super Rugby, like if it's the right move or not. And before I give you guys my opinion, just click the like button, guys, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this kind of decision. Do you think it's the right one? Do you think it's not? Let me know in the comments below. Again, in terms of this whole decision, Rugby Australia rejected the consortium's application for the Melbourne Rebels for them to, kind of play within 2025 in terms of Super Rugby Pacific. And the reason for that is due to insufficient financial viability and overly optimistic revenue projections. And again, I think that's kind of safe to say because when you look at the Melbourne Rebels as a whole, from a financial standpoint, like they've been pretty insolvent for a lot of years. But they haven't been really a moneymaker, if that's the way you want to put it, like in terms of like having a positive kind of cash flow. But at the same time, like there's not a lot of rugby clubs out there that kind of do that. So it's not kind of I wouldn't say that's like kind of like a negative on their standpoint. Again, this proposed alliance with the Western Force Melbourne Group is still in the early stages and it's not finalized, but the consortium sought millions in additional funding from the RA, from Rugby Australia, to cover the operating losses, which combined with the lack of evidence for the claimed 18 million funding and raises concerns. So that's kind of the reason why Rugby Australia said kind of no to this, and just there's a lot of red flags really around this kind of application. And even like Rugby Australia said they found that the financial model lacked detail and transparency, and they just deemed the risk too high for the Melbourne Rebels to kind of participate in the upcoming season. But yeah, it's crazy because since 2011, the Rebels have existed and they haven't been financially stable despite Rugby Australia's significant investment in them kind of throughout that period of time. Again, they're saying that it's one of those like where you can kind of think of it from both sides because I think Rugby Australia have invested into the Rebels, but at the same time, have they done enough to kind of help them? And the reason why I say that is just because I think Rugby Australia obviously is kind of all over the place, and I think we can all agree on that. I mean, but it's just one of those where with the Rebels, like I've actually enjoyed watching them just from an on-field standpoint. I think they've been a great watch in terms of the Australian clubs. Again, I know they haven't had the best record when you look at their record overall, because again, I think they've only had 2 seasons where they've actually had a positive record in their favor. But at the same time, like they haven't been up there in terms of like the Australian sides. Like this is the first year the Rebels have actually qualified for the playoffs, which is crazy to say actually, because when you look at the other Australian sides, like the likes of the Waratahs, the Brumbies, the Reds, they've all kind of gone up and down, but the Rebels have just been very consistent and kind of just not making that next step. And again, until now, literally the season where they're kind of being removed, they finally do the job and make it into the playoffs. Again, I'm not sure how far they go, but still, like from an on-field perspective, they've actually kind of overperformed. Actually, you can say this year. So credit to the players, by the way, because to kind of go through the background of this, like kind of what was happening in terms of this decision, even before it was made, and just to kind of just grind and kind of continue playing rugby, like I really respect that from the players because it's not going to be an easy decision kind of for them really in terms of kind of everything that's happening. So. Yeah, I just kind of respect what they've been able to do this year, and just credit to them really. But look, I mean, there's a lot of kind of like reasons why this is good for Super Rugby when you think about like the positives, because you can think of it in a way like where there's always been that argument where the Australian sides have just not been competitive against the New Zealand sides, and that's a fair argument you can make because when you look at the record itself, New Zealand has just been dominant in those battles between the Australian sides. And there's always been a conversation where the Australian sides should go down to even like 3 teams. But of course, in this scenario, it will be 4. So, there's scenarios where like a lot of these Rebels players could actually, join a lot of these join the Australian sides and kind of make them better in terms of their depth and all that, which I understand and all that. Because again, I can understand the reason because it just makes them a stronger squad and all that. But at the same time, like it kind of hurts them, I think, in the long term. And the reason why I'm saying this, by the way, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but I will put this to the right of me here, guys, just so you can see. But Michael Wells, who of course is he was the ex-captain of the Rebels, but I think joined the Western Force this year. So I think this is his first year with the Western Force. But he went onto LinkedIn and kind of just put this post up, and I just thought you guys should see this because I never really thought of this perspective until he posted it. So I'm really kind of happy he did because it's kind of opened my mind in terms of seeing kind of like the negative impacts of this. And just to kind of just read it out for you, even though you can see it. He's kind of just generally said, look, it's kind of naive to reduce the professional contracting opportunities by 20% because he made comparisons towards the AFL as well as the NRL and having how they have 17 to 18 teams that players can kind of join, whereas now Super B are going down to 4. So it just now means that there's only a 1 in 4 chance for kind of players or juniors to kind of step into Super B. And when you're comparing towards the other kind of sports in Australia, AFL, NRL, in terms of how it's like a 1 in 17 chance or 1 in 18 chance to join one of their sides. So it's obviously greater odds in your favor for the juniors. So it just kind of it points them more in that direction, which is not what you really want from a rugby union standpoint because you want rugby union to grow. And again, when you're thinking about Australia, just they're a country which really you can make the case rugby union isn't their most kind of watched sports, not their most famous sports. I honestly think you could say it's AFL or NRL. I think those have stronger cases. So it's sad to say that, but it's just I think it's just right. I think it's just a fact, really, when you're looking at Australia as a whole, in terms of how many clubs there, in terms of the fan bases and all that. But yeah, look, I mean, he even said like, how could a governing body be ignorant to a franchise operating insolvent for multiple years? And I question whether this is failure of corporate governance raises more concerns for the future of professional rugby in Australia, which is interesting because, again, I did say earlier on that how the Rugby Australia have put significant investments into within the Rebels over time, but it's one of those where if they've been insolvent for a number of years, have they done enough to kind of help them? I think that kind of begs the question. So I think it's really kind of I'm not swaying towards one direction, by the way, in terms of like what I think is the right thing here. But I will say though that the Rebels they've been really hard done by. And again, we were in a similar scenario like this beforehand with the Western Force because the Western Force were the first Australian team to kind of be removed from Super B, but of course they have been brought back in because they have I forget his name, but they have that owner who now has been able to kind of keep the club up really, and it's kind of good from that standpoint. But again, the Rebels just haven't had that luck in terms of finding someone to kind of take over from an individual standpoint, from an ownership, because they had to kind of look towards this consortium to kind of help them out here. But yeah, of course, it just hasn't paid off. So yeah, they haven't been able to kind of. Look, I'm not saying that the Rebels can't come back in the Super League, by the way, guys. I'm just saying that it's very unlikely it's going to happen just because going forward, there's obviously the rumors going around that the Jaguars is the likely team to kind of replace them. I'm not sure, like, though, again, you guys can let me know in the comments, like, do you think that's the right move? Because I can understand from all the teams that have competed in Super B in the past, they're the best option to put in just because of the record in terms of what they did within Super B, where they got to a final one year, like, which is incredible. Like they're the only, I think that they are the only kind of expansion team really to make it to a Super B final, which is they overperformed in that year. But also they've been very competitive when they've played at home. A similar scenario actually towards Fiji and Drua, how they've been a very impressive side at home, but you can actually make the case they're actually pretty good away, actually, because I remember a few wins they had over the South African sides and all that. Because again, you need to remember in the past they were kind of classed in that kind of South African group with them. So it's one of those where they're a good side to add, no doubt about that. But the question is, can they get those same players who played for them in the past from Europe and Japan and all that to come back? I'm not sure because again the contracts within Europe and all that, it's just they've been paid better obviously there. And again in terms of like the talent, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like any Argentinians within Super Rugby. I mean, I think there's like well, there's Santiago Madrano, so he can maybe join them. There's also Martin Bordado, I think, from Honduras. I think that's the only two I can think of. But yeah, it'd be fascinating to see if they join or not. But again, there's other options with the Sunwolves within Japan. They were a good side at times, and they weren't like from a attendance standpoint, they were very good. But from a on field, they weren't the best. Again, there's the conversation even like the Cheetahs and Kings and all that, but I wouldn't even go near Safka, to be completely frank, guys, because not saying that because it's not good to have Safkan teams in. I just think it just doesn't make sense with everything that's happened with the Safkans moving to the URC, and I just think that's probably the one scenario I don't think it's right for Super B to go down that route again, because it's going to overcomplicate things, and I think. I think Super B just needs to find either a new team. I don't know if you base that within. I'm trying to think of where you could do this. Like because they already have Mono Pacifica and Fiji and Drua. You have the Jaguars. It would be Argentina. Maybe a team in the US. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm biased here, but maybe Hong Kong. But even like Singapore, maybe. But I don't know if they would do well in filling that stadium because it's so big. But yeah, man, it is a tough decision, guys. I'm kind of lost for words here because the more I think about it, I'm just like, man, it's gonna kind of suck not really having them for next year. But at the same time, look, I hope this is an easy transition for the players, kind of just going forward, because again, not all of them I suspect will be joining the Australian sides. A lot of them may go offshores, so it'll be a key decision to see kind of what happens. But look, at the end of the day, it's gonna be weird not having them for next year, because they've actually been a great side to watch this year. Really good side to watch. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Just I thought you give guys my opinion on this. I hope you guys like this. I'm trying to be very fair in the way I talk about this video, because I know it's obviously a very delicate topic matter to kind of talk about. But I hope you guys just kind of enjoyed kind of just my thoughts on that, because I feel like you guys deserve kind of hearing that. So yeah, anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Like I said, make sure to like the video, guys. Would greatly appreciate that. Subscribe to our channel, and like I said, leave a comment below. Would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.